So let's look at the lesson on area of a rectangle. Again, area is the number of squares it takes to fill the inside of a shape. So for a rectangle, it's how many squares it takes to fill the inside of a rectangle. So this rectangle is going to be a 2 by 3. And what happens here is, since it's 2 tall, that means I can make it 2 squares tall. And if it's 3 along this way, I want it to be 3 squares along that way. And we kind of see that the area is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be 6 squares. So the area is going to be then described as 6 squares. Now look at this next example. This is now going to be defined a little bit more specifically. It's going to be 4 inches by 6 inches, and I want to find the area of that rectangle. And again, I'm not going to make this real articulate. This is just kind of a rough sketch. This is really not 4 inches by 6 inches, so it's just kind of a drawing. So if it's 4, what that means is I can make it 4 squares tall. So I'm going to try to do that where it's equal as best as possible. So quickness is going to make the neatness go away a little bit. So it's going to be 6 squares across now. So I'm kind of slice it into 6 pieces this way. Only have to actually make 5 slices though. And what we kind of see is there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares in each row. So basically all I have to do to figure this one out is just add 6 and a 6 and a 6 and a 6. And we know that 2 6s is 12. And we know 2 more 6s is 12. And therefore the answer is 24. So the area of this rectangle, since I'm giving you actual dimensions in inches, the area is described as 24, and we would describe it as then square inches. Now, instead of spelling out square inches, what we're also allowed to do is simply say 24. And for square inches, we just put down this notation here, IN with a little 2 above it. And that stands for square inches. And what we pick up on this one is, 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 is really the same thing as 4 times 6. And 4 times 6 is 24. And so, and as y'all probably already know, the area formula is basically multiplying the length times the width. So just bring that out. So the area of a rectangle, area is going to equal this length times this width. And in algebra, a lot of times, instead of writing it all out in words, they'll use letters. So instead of saying area, they'll just use the letter A for area. And instead of spelling out the word length, they may use the letter L for length times the width. And in algebra, a lot of times, they'll just leave out the multiplication symbol and just write it as LW, like that. So it's kind of cursive. So that may be unfamiliar to you, but that's kind of what it looks like, is cursive L and a cursive W. So when I'll do this problem here, right here, notice how it's hard to cut this up into squares. So what I'm doing is just pick up on the formula that just says multiply the length times the width. So all I have to really do on this one is just go 25 times 9, and that will tell me how many squares are inside the rectangle without actually having to cut it up into squares. So we learned that 9 times 5 is, of course, 45. We carry our 4. 9 times 2 is the 18, plus the 4 makes that 22. So we'd have 225, and since we're dealing with feet, we would say square feet, and the abbreviation would be just FT with a little 2 above it. So that stands for square feet. So the rectangle would be then 225 square feet. So that's a little bit of a review of finding the area of a rectangle.